kidnapping and murdering Denise Amber Lee. Michael King is scheduled to be put to death next month for a crime that shook Southwest Florida. Lee was just 21 years old when she was abducted from her Northport home in January of 2008.
Hello? What is the address that you're at? Hello, ma'am?
Where are we going?
I gotta go up to the house now.
Go around where?
Can you see exactly where you're call?
Please, my name is Denise. I'm married to a beautiful husband, and I just want to see my kids again.
Your name's Denise?
I'm sorry.
I always say she sacrificed herself to make sure we were safe. We came first.
Why'd you want to speak out finally?
I'm doing it for her and for my dad because we're a part of her, and I feel like people hearing from us can kind of see how important she was, how amazing she was.
During the kidnapping, she managed to call 911 from her attacker's cell phone. Despite multiple other 911 calls from witnesses, deputies did not reach her in time. King later shot and killed Lee. He was convicted in 2009.
The state of Florida has carried out the execution of Michael Lee King. He was pronounced dead at 6:13 p.m. 18 years. That's how long this family waited to hear those words. Here's a number that should stop you cold. 5 separate 911 calls were placed about Denise Amber Lee on the day she was taken. 5 people picked up a phone. 5 people did exactly what you have been told your entire life to do when something is wrong. 5 calls, and she still died. Sit with that, because it is the whole case. This was not a woman who vanished into the dark with no one watching. This was not a body found in a field years later with no witnesses and no leads. People saw, people heard, people called. One of the calls was made by Denise herself, from her abductor's own phone while he was outside the car, with him only a few feet away. She told them she had been taken. She told them she was in a green Camaro. She begged for her life. She said the word please 17 times, and the system that was built to save her did not save her. Most people who know this case know the shape of it. A young mother in Florida was kidnapped from her home in broad daylight, and a man was caught and sentenced to death for it. That version isn't wrong. It's just incomplete in a way that matters, because it lets you believe this was a story about a monster. It wasn't. Or it wasn't only that. It was a story about a phone line, about a rule that wasn't followed, about one call that was taken by someone in a room 40 minutes away, written down, and then simply not passed on. That's what this video is actually about. Not just the man who killed her, the failure that led him. Everything you are about to hear comes from the public record, from the trial of the state of Florida versus Michael L. King in Sarasota County, presided over by Judge Deno Economou and prosecuted by Assistant State Attorney Lon Arend. From the sworn testimony and physical evidence entered in that courtroom. From the released 911 audio played publicly at trial. From the subsequent reviews of the emergency dispatch system. From the Florida legislature's own findings, and from Florida Department of Corrections records. Not tabloid speculation. Verified findings, on the record. Let's start where it started. January 17th, 2008. Northport, Florida, a spread-out suburban city on the state's Gulf Coast, where the streets are wide and the houses sit back from the road, and everybody's yard runs into scrub and pine. An ordinary Thursday, warm. The kind of January day that people move to Florida for. Denise Amber Lee was 21 years old. She was a wife. She had married Nathan, and not long after their very first date, he had bought her a ring. A heart-shaped ring. $40. Nothing extravagant. She never took it off. Think about what that tells you about her. A woman who wore a $40 ring every single day for years because of what it meant and not what it cost. She was a mother. 2 little boys, one 2 years old, one 6 months. Babies. The younger one still small enough to share a crib with his brother. And she was a daughter, the daughter of Sergeant Rick Goff, a detective with the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office. Her father was a cop. Remember that. It's going to matter in a way you won't expect. At 11:21 that morning, she called Nathan at work. They talked about ordinary things. They talked about the weather, how nice it was, and they agreed the windows should be open. She told him she'd already opened them. That was the last conversation they would ever have. Nathan got home around 3:30 in the afternoon, and the first thing he noticed, before anything else, was that the windows were closed. The house was quiet. Denise was gone, and in the back of the house, still in the same crib, were their 2 boys, alone. He called 911. Here is what had happened in the hours between. Sometime around 2 o'clock, a neighbor saw a car pull up to the Lee home, a dark green Chevrolet Camaro, a 1994 model. It belonged to a man named Michael Lee King, a 36-year-old former plumber who had been out of work for months and was losing his house to foreclosure. He lived in Northport, too. Denise had never met him. She did not know his name. There was no connection between them, no history, no grievance, nothing. That's the part people struggle with the most. He didn't choose her because of anything she had done. He chose her because she was there. King took her from her own home, bound her, and put her in that Camaro. He took her to his house, where investigators would later find duct tape and other evidence in a room the prosecution would describe to the jury, plainly, as a rape room. It had been prepared. This was not an impulse that spiraled. This was a plan with a place set aside for it. And then he drove. For hours, he drove her around Sarasota and Charlotte County with her tied inside that car, past intersections, past traffic lights, past ordinary people going home from work. That's what makes this case different. Denise Amber Lee was not hidden. She was out there, on public roads, in a moving car, for hours. And people saw her. People heard her. But the drive was only the beginning of what the evidence would reveal. What happened on that road, what she managed to do from inside that car with a killer a few feet away, is the reason we are still talking about this case 18 years later. At some point in that drive, King pulled up at the home of his cousin, a man named Harold Muxlow. He got out. He asked to borrow 3 things: a shovel, a gas can, and a flashlight. A shovel, a gas can, a flashlight. You already know what those 3 items are for. And here is the thing about King getting out of that car. It meant that for a few minutes, Denise Amber Lee was alone in it, bound, terrified, 21 years old, and she found his cell phone. At 6:14 p.m., a 911 operator in Sarasota County picked up a call. On the other end was a young woman, whispering and pleading, trying to give information to a stranger while pretending, out loud at the same time, to be talking to the man who had taken her. Understand what she was doing. She was running 2 conversations at once, one to the operator to save her life, one out loud to keep King from realizing what she was doing and killing her on the spot. She answered the operator's questions in a way that would sound, to him, like she was talking to him. She said she had been taken. She described the car. She begged. 17 times. In that call, Denise Amber Lee said the word, please. Judge Economou, who has presided over many trials, would later remark on how rare and how unusual it was to hear a murder victim's last words spoken aloud in a courtroom. Prosecutors would say it was their single best piece of evidence, because in her own voice, she made it unmistakable that she had been taken against her will and that she did not know the man who took her. She gave them everything except the one thing she couldn't give them. She did not know where she was. She was in a moving car, in the dark, in an unfamiliar part of a county she couldn't see. She could not tell them the road. She could not tell them the cross street. And police could not trace the phone because King's cell was a prepaid wireless phone, the kind you buy off a rack with cash. The kind that, in 2008, the system could not reliably locate. So the most powerful piece of evidence in the entire case, a victim, alive, on the line with 911, telling them exactly what was happening to her, could not put a single police car in the right place. But here is the question that should already be forming in your mind. If Denise couldn't tell them where she was there anyone else out there who could? There was. 16 minutes later, at 6:30 p.m., a woman named Jane Kowalski was driving on U.S. Route 41. She stopped at a traffic light, and a Camaro pulled up beside her, and she heard screaming. She would describe it later as terrifying. She said she had never heard anything like it. She saw a hand come up and start banging on the passenger window, striking it over and over. She made eye contact with the driver. She thought it was a child. The sun was setting, and she got the color of the car wrong. She said blue, not green, and the screams were so high and so raw that she assumed she was hearing a kidnapped child. She tried to follow the car. It turned before she could. So she called 911 immediately from her cell phone. She reported a possible abduction in progress. She described the car. She described what she was seeing and hearing in real time. Jane Kowalski did everything right. And here is where this case stops being a murder story and becomes something worse. Because Jane Kowalski had just crossed a county line. She had passed out of Sarasota County and into Charlotte County. And because cell 911 calls route to the tower's jurisdiction, her call, the call describing a woman screaming and beating on the window of a Camaro, did not go to the 4 operators in Sarasota County who already had 4 calls about Denise Amber Lee. It went to a call center in Charlotte County, a center that did not know Denise Amber Lee existed. Charlotte County took the call, and then, in violation of the procedure they were supposed to follow, they did not forward it. The information was never relayed to Northport Police, the very agency out searching for her at that moment. The call was not filed as it was required to be. Deputies in the field were never told. Grossly mishandled. That is the language that the later reporting and reviews would use. So there it is. In the space of 16 minutes, on the evening of January 17, 2008, 2 women called 911 about the same green Camaro. One of them was inside it, the other was looking right at it, and the search for Denise Amber Lee went on without either of them. Jane Kowalski went home that night. She did not learn what she had actually witnessed until she saw the news the following day and realized that the child she had heard screaming was a 21-year-old mother of 2. She called the Northport Police Department to tell them she had made a 911 call. That is how they found out the call existed. From her. Afterward. At 9:15 p.m., about 6 hours after Denise was first reported missing, Michael King was arrested. It was too late. It had been too late for a while. Denise Amber Lee's body was found on January 19, 2008 in a shallow grave. She had been raped. She had been shot. She was 21 years old, and she had 2 babies at home, and she had begged for her life on a recorded line, and the recording was sitting on a server the entire time. Her father, Sergeant Rick Goff, the detective, was part of the world that was supposed to find her. He was law enforcement. He had spent his career on the other side of calls like this one, and it did not save his daughter. The case against Michael King was overwhelming. The trial began on August 24, 2009. Prosecutors put in DNA, hair, and forensic evidence tying King to Denise. Items of hers found in the Camaro, in his house, and at the gravesite. The shovel, the gas can, the duct tape, a shell casing, his change of clothes, his cell phone, the phone she had used to call for help, and the ring. That $40 heart-shaped ring, the one Nathan bought her after their first date, the one she never took off. It became one of the pieces of evidence that tied the man who took her to the woman he killed. They played her 911 call in that courtroom. Denise Amber Lee testified at her own murder trial. The defense tried to raise doubt, arguing contamination, arguing tampering, suggesting a friend of King's had done it. The judge did not think much of that last theory. The defense rested without calling a single witness. On August 28, 2009, after deliberating for 2 hours and 5 minutes, the jury found Michael Lee King guilty of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and sexual battery. On September 4th, they recommended death. The vote was 12-0. And then Denise's family waited. For 16 more years, they waited. Through the appeals, through the reviews, through the slow machinery of a capital case. On March 17, 2026, Michael Lee King was executed by lethal injection at Florida State Prison. He was pronounced dead at 6:13 in the evening. Denise's family, after it was over, said what families in that position so often say, that it was a long time coming. 18 years and 2 months, from her last phone call to his last breath. Here's what makes this case matter beyond that one road in Florida. Every part of the system that was supposed to protect Denise Amber Lee actually worked, right up until the last inch. The witness saw. The witness called. The victim herself called, and she was brilliant, and she was brave, and she gave the operator everything she had. The technology carried the call. The operator picked up, and then a piece of paper didn't move from one desk to another. That's it. That's the gap she fell through. Not a failure of courage, Not a failure of evidence, a failure of procedure. A call taken in one county about a crime being investigated in another, and no requirement, no training, no enforced protocol that made sure the two ever met. Denise's family did not accept that. Her husband Nathan and her father Rick took it to the Florida Capitol. On April 24, 2008, barely 3 months after she was killed, the Florida legislature passed the Denise Amber Lee Act unanimously. Her family founded the Denise Amber Lee Foundation in June of that year, and they have spent the years since fighting for something that will sound almost unbelievable to you when you hear it. They have been fighting to make training mandatory for 911 dispatchers, because it wasn't. In Florida, and in much of this country, the person who answers the phone when you are having the worst moment of your life was not required to be trained or certified to do it. That is what Denise's family discovered. That is what they have spent nearly 2 decades trying to change, so that no other family learns it the way they did. Denise Amber Lee did everything right. Jane Kowalski did everything right. The failure was never theirs. But Denise's case didn't happen in isolation. Across this country, there are other names, other people who called for help, who were heard, who were logged, and who died anyway while the information sat in the wrong building. There's another case where a young woman stayed on the line with an operator for far longer than Denise did, gave far more, and where the recording of what the operator said back to her is almost impossible to listen to. That story is just as devastating as this one, and it's coming next. Go watch it.